Well, hello and welcome back to the No Neutral Moments podcast. I mentioned on a previous episode, this is really going to be part two of this making a decision process. I try to drop these in short segments, so whether you're watching them or you're playing them in your car or listening to them during your workout, you'll be able to process this. You can call it a teaching or this directive for you as you're trying to make big decisions in your life. And every time I say trying to make big decisions in your life, you have to decide what a big decision is. So in this second episode related to making big decisions here on the No Neutral Moments podcast, I'm going to talk about two more questions to ask yourself as you're going through the process of trying to make a decision and trying to decide, is this a road I should take? Is this a path that I should take? And if you'll remember, the first two questions, the very first one was, am what I seeking to do, does it line up with my mission or my vision? You want to make sure that that's in place. Number two was the test of alignment. We talked about the whole 90-180 process and talked about how you're listening to trusted counselors and you're looking at circumstances around you and you're feeling what's going on inside of your soul to see, is there alignment about this? Because sometimes you may be thinking about a decision or a change and something very real or very poignant shows up that says, don't go down this road. Or just the opposite might be, go down this road. And that's why we're testing and we're asking questions. And it's not going to be in all seven of these things that I'm going to tell you, but I do want to just make sure, if you hear me say, if you sense yourself in a hurry trying to make a very important decision, I would urge you to do everything you can to push in the clutch, so to speak, to slow things down as much as you can, because the really critical and important decisions in our lives, if we feel like we have to make them in a hurry, more often than not, we're going to make a bad decision because your brain's not going to be working right. Your heart's not going to be working right. So do everything you can to slow things down, realizing sometimes you got to make decisions pretty fast, but do everything you can to slow the process down. So let's get on to question number three. And these are not in any particular order. Someone might think, is this one more important than the other? I think they're all fairly important. I've worked on this list for well over 10 years, maybe almost 15 years. So the third question is this. I'm asking myself and I'm testing the opportunity. Is this really an opportunity for me? And I want to make sure you hear me say, it's not necessarily where you might have looked or possibly wanted to go. In other words, opportunity is not always exactly what you were looking for. Sometimes opportunities can show up that was nowhere in your windshield of view. You weren't even thinking about this, but now all of a sudden there seems to be an opportunity that seems to be new. It seems to be creative. It seems to be exciting, which is why if you answer the question, yeah, I'm kind of excited about this opportunity, you back up and you go, okay, is this in line with my mission or my vision? Is this going to keep me headed down a road I want to always be going down in my life? And then you look for alignment. Remember, you're saying to some friends, hey, this really looks like an opportunity for me that I'm really excited about. My spouse is excited about it. My boyfriend, my girlfriend, my kids are excited about this. I never expected this. And then you can listen to wise counsel as people say, yeah, that kind of looks like a great opportunity. But also remember, great opportunity can also demand great sacrifice, but it's in line with what you're supposed to be doing in your life. And you can look throughout the history of Scripture. Some of my favorite stories are Joseph and Daniel. Very difficult things happened in Joseph's life with family issues and being betrayed by his brothers. He ended up in a nation and in a kingdom he never would have chosen, but it was an opportunity that he could live out his mission and really change a world. And the same thing with Daniel. And you can go through time where there's great people like William Wilberforce, who was a person of great wealth, who never would have chosen politics, but all of a sudden found out the opportunity of politics gave him the opportunity to take he would have never taken had he just been left to his own counsel. And he really became the father of the abolitionist movement towards slavery in Great Britain that ultimately translated into the United States. So be very careful with this issue of opportunity. Make sure you're not looking at opportunity just financially, but you're looking at opportunity as it relates to what you can do in your mission, what you can do in helping others. And so it's a test that I think ought to be in there. I wrote this down. Often most apparent when we are sensing restlessness. what I mean by that. Often most apparent when we are sensing restlessness. I've found in myself and in talking with a lot of people, we go through phases in our life where I really can't describe it as anything other than there's a restlessness within you. You're sensing you're wanting something different. You're wanting something new. A friend of mine calls it a stirring within himself. He just can't quit stirring over something that he's looking for. And when I've done these 9180s that I mentioned, a lot of times it's because of something stirring in me and I'm testing the waters of opportunity. I want to see if there's other opportunities out there. And quite frankly, you kind of know if you're stirring or restless when you start looking at postings on LinkedIn, or you're starting to look at where there might be career opportunities, or you just have an idea and you think maybe this idea is an opportunity that I'm looking for. So it's a simple question, but it's one that can also lead to other questions. Is this an opportunity? Now I need to back up and say, does it line up with my mission and vision? Now I need to ask some other questions of alignment. Are people saying this is an opportunity I should pursue? Are circumstances saying this is an opportunity I should pursue? Or is this just an opportunity out of left field I should ignore? So a third question, is this an opportunity perhaps I should pay attention to or take advantage of? I wrote a few more questions down as far as opportunity, and I'll just kind of go through these kind of quick. Does your preparation seem to set you up for this opportunity? I don't know what that preparation might be. It could be education. It could be something you're doing in private that you've been studying. It could be the result of a hobby that you've been working on, that now there's an opportunity for the hobby to become a career. But have you been preparing yourself for an opportunity like this to show up? Rarely do opportunities show up for us to pursue in a major transition where we haven't been preparing in some way, shape, or form for that opportunity. For instance, I have numerous friends who are very involved in physical fitness, and it's really been something very personal. It's been something they've been doing for years. And then all of a sudden, an opportunity shows up to open a gym or to buy a gym. That's what I'm talking about. Usually there's some portion of your life you've been preparing, or you've been treating it as a hobby, and now an opportunity shows up. It lines up with your mission and vision, and people around you have said, hey, maybe that's something you ought to pursue. So is there preparation that makes this opportunity not seem so out of the blue? This one, you'll have to test yourself on it. Does your heart pull or push you towards this? Again, that's a soulish issue. Do you just feel like this is something you maybe should check into some more? And then the other thing, which lines up with other things I've told you, do others agree that you're ready for this opportunity? You got to really be careful in this arena of what are other people saying to you. And people have asked me this question about, your circle around you. And many times I tell people, the circle of trust, the older you get and the more important decisions are in your life, your circle of trust gets smaller and smaller and smaller. So just be careful about who you're asking when you're trying to make these big decisions. It may seem like a really obvious thing. I wouldn't spend a lot of time posting your wrestling match with yourself online or in your social media. There's no reason for people who don't even know you to be speaking into your life. That seems pretty obvious, but to some people it may not be so obvious. So be sure you're just talking to a few people who are really going to tell you the truth. The last thing about opportunity is the least important question related to opportunity is the money question. It should be a part of the equation, but in all of these issues, you're never going to hear me say the big question should be, what's the money going to be like? If you're chasing a decision simply because of the money, there's going to be something else out of whack. So be really careful about that. So fourth question. So you got three questions. Does it line up, or three questions so far. Does it line up with your mission and vision? Is there alignment among people that you're talking to in circumstances and situations? And then does this seem like a legit opportunity? Those are three. Number 4 is the test of timing. Does this seem to be the right time in your life to make this change? I wrote in my notes, I wrote this years ago, this is more of a perception issue, but I got a couple of other questions to go along with that. One of those is simply this: is it good for those around you that you currently influence or that you're leading? Is it good timing for them? If you're a manager of a particular organization, if you have a particular business and you might be transitioning to another business, is this good timing not only for you and your family, but for the people around you. And I'll go back to this family issue here in just a minute, because this whole issue of how important it is for my family, that's what makes some of these decisions really, really, really hard. But on the timing question, I'm not looking for perfect timing. Oftentimes, the best timing shows up. This is going to sound like a Dr. Seuss thing. Oftentimes, the best timing shows up when I'm not anticipating this timing to show up in my life. So in other words, it kind of shows up with an opportunity, and then you might go, you know what? At this particular time in my life, I may not have been thinking about this, but now that I think about it, the timing might be right. Sounds subjective. I understand it sounds subjective. But remember, I've started every single one of these questions with just, this is a test. So now I want to test the timing in my life. And I wrote in these notes, and let me go into some detail on this, especially if you have children. So you've got children, one in elementary school, one in junior high, or two in junior high, whatever the case might be. Let me sound like the old guy for a minute. Raising your kids is going to happen really fast, really, really fast. For most of you, the greatest influence you're going to have on your kids is going to be about the first 13 years, and then you're going to try to figure out who this person is living in your house until they leave and they come back a human being. But as you're raising kids and you're trying to figure out how to transition or make major changes with your family, one of the things I did years ago was I sat down and just took the ages of my kids. Now, this may not work for you, but it kind of helped me quite a bit. And I had one in elementary school, I had one about to go in high school, and one about to graduate from high school. And I sort of just looked at all of it and said, what would be the best time of transition for my kids? So if I made a move, like if I made a physical move from one city to the next, what would cause the least angst? What would cause the least amount of discomfort? How would it be easier on my kids? And I kind of figured out, I didn't seek any professional counseling on this. I kind of figured out that for my children, the best time to make a transition would be if they were entering junior high or entering high school. And so I just said, okay, in a particular season of life that I'm in, that's going to be about a 3-year window before one of them has to make that transition. Otherwise, I'm going to settle down for the next 3 years and not make that transition in their life. Now, again, there could be some trump cards in that. I may have to make a decision to move. But what I was trying to give myself was just a map to say, okay, I can be content right where I am for the next 3 years and then be looking for opportunity or change or transition. So when you're asking the question, what about the timing? Just take into consideration the people most influenced by the decision you might make, realizing that time is really going to go by pretty fast. And you're probably going to be in your 40s or so whenever you could make another huge transition if this involves your children and in your family. So just don't be in a big fat hurry. I'm just telling you, you got to ask the question, is this good timing for everybody? So 2 questions. The test of opportunity. Does this seem like an opportunity that I've been preparing for and now the time is right? And the test of timing. Does the timing seem right for the people in my family, for the people in my company, for the people that I influence the most? Is the timing right in my own life? 4 questions, a few more to come. Remember, all of this plays into the idea that there's no moment in your life that's neutral. So we're always testing and always asking questions so we can get prepared for the next season of our life. I'll see you on the next episode. We'll cover 2 more questions.